He's Hacker.
Talk about a fried egg. I lasted about 5 minutes out there. I said, to heck with this. I'll do this in the morning. And I don't have any inside information. The lady that did it, she got in there. She made it happen.
And he doesn't shy away from opinion.
And I do enjoy drinking cold beer at ballparks. So if that makes me a baseball fan, then I'm a diehard baseball fan.
It's Hacker After Dark on 1010XL.
And a very good Tuesday evening to you, Jacksonville. It is Hacker After Dark, 1010XL, 92.5 FM with Dylan Denmark. The Hacker Ryan Green with you. Glad you are with us. As a little bit of breaking news in the last 45 minutes here in the city of Jacksonville, Cam Robinson traded to the Minnesota Vikings in exchange for a conditional fifth-round draft pick in the 2026 draft that could turn into a fourth-round pick in 2026, depending on playing time. More on the compensation the Jaguars received in just a moment. But obviously, we're going to spend a majority of the opening segment here talking about Cam Robinson. I have a lot of thoughts on that deal and what that means moving forward. We are absolutely loaded tonight as well. Matt Verderame of Sports Illustrated joins me to talk Jags and the horrific disappointment that this season has been. Doug Peterson, Trent Baalke's future. We'll do a little college talk tonight as well. So loaded till 10 o'clock. Glad you're with us. But as we tend to do when things break here at 7:30 at night, we will lead it off with this. Cam Robinson to the Minnesota Vikings. Every night here on Hacker After Dark, we kick it off with a big deal of the night. And Dylan Denmark. Let's do that right now.
Time now for the big deal of the night.
What's the big deal? What is the big deal?
No big deal.
It is a big deal.
On Hacker After Dark.
Okay. Let me just throw out a couple of thoughts about the Cam Robinson trade. So I'm watching the game on Sunday, and again, I don't necessarily know anything. This is just mere observation right now. So I'm watching the game on Sunday, and I know Brandon Sheriff got hurt, and Cooper Hodges came in and played right guard there, I believe, in the first half, right? And then Ezra Cleveland gets hurt after Sheriff came back. And then all of a sudden, I see Cooper Hodges playing left guard. And my mind immediately wandered to, well, wait a minute. Doug Peterson always talks about getting the best five on the field when it comes to the offensive line. And nothing against Cooper Hodges, but he's played primarily right guard, hasn't really played left guard. Walker Little has played inside at left guard, and Cam Robinson was one of the 53 that dressed for the game. So when Ezra Cleveland left the ballgame on Sunday, they did not put Cam Robinson in. They kept Walker Little at left tackle, and they put Cooper Hodges in at left guard to join Mitch Morse, Brandon Sheriff, and Anton Harrison. And immediately when they did that, I was like, all right, they're trading Cam Robinson. And I even told a buddy of mine I was watching the game with on Sunday, that's bizarre that Robinson's dressed. He's cleared concussion protocol. He's not even on the injury report. He obviously at that point had been benched for Walker Little. But yet he's not coming in the game when he's clearly one of the best five after Ezra Cleveland departs with an injury. So at that point, you kind of knew, right? You kind of knew something was in the works. And it comes to fruition about 48 hours later that Cam Robinson has been traded to the Minnesota Vikings. Now, I don't know what the reaction Cam Robinson had to being benched. My assumption would be, and being in that locker room with him for many years, covering him for many years, that he probably wasn't very happy about it. Again, that's my assumption. I don't know that. Speculating here a tad, but just going off of what I know. And again, him not coming in the game on Sunday was odd to me. Maybe they already had this worked out. Maybe they had already been in conversation with Minnesota. Minnesota lost Darisaw, last Thursday, right? Yeah, they played on Thursday. So they lost their offensive tackle last Thursday. The Jaguars played on Sunday. Maybe they wanted to wait till Cam Robinson cleared protocol. So maybe it was already worked out in advance. But again, I just thought it was weird that Robinson did not go in the game on Sunday when Ezra Cleveland departed. Having said all that, Cam Robinson, this is to me is both a true statement and maybe somewhat of a sad statement. 30 years of Jaguar football, 30 plus years of Jaguar football. He is on the Mount Rushmore for offensive tackles in franchise history. Now, Tony Boselli and Leon Searcy are 1 and 2, no doubt about that. Again, offensive tackles. Don't come at me with Brad Meester or any. I'm talking about the tackle position. Boselli and Searcy are clearly 1 and 2. Mo Williams, probably 3. And I would say Cam Robinson is probably 4. So in that context, it's somewhat of a historic night. The Jaguars are literally trading away one of the best offensive tackles in the 30-plus year history of the franchise. Again, that can be true, and that can also be sad. After 30 years, that Cam Robinson is considered to be one of your 4 best offensive tackles. But he is. There's not a better one other than Mo Williams, Leon Searcy, and Tony Boselli. Who are you going to give me? Khalif Barnes, Ephraim Salaam, Mike Pearson, Tony Pashos, Jeremy Parnell? I don't think. Brandon Albert and his contribution here for 6 weeks. So it's a changing of the guard, man. They traded Roy Robertson Harris a week and a half ago. They trade Cam Robinson tonight. We are at the very edge of a mail-it-in 2024, play the young guys, blow this thing up scenario. We're getting close. Getting close, folks. Trade deadline is a week from today. Are they done? Could we see an Andre Sisco, who's a free agent at the end of the year? Could we see a Brandon Sheriff, because they want Cooper Hodges to get in there and start playing? Dare I say ETN? I would tend to doubt that one. It's interesting, man. And it's a shame, too. Because look at what happened in the AFC South today. You want to talk about a lost season, a lost opportunity. An absolute, flat-out, without a shadow of a doubt, missed opportunity for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Tennessee is hot garbage. They are awful. The Indianapolis Colts today flat out benched a top 5 pick at quarterback from the 2023 draft for a 40-year-old, 39-year-old Joe Flacco. Anthony Richardson got benched. Holy moly. And Stephon Diggs out for the year with a torn ACL. On top of the fact that Nico Collins is already missing time for Houston with a hamstring. So Houston now doesn't have Nico Collins or Stephon Diggs. Indianapolis has just benched Anthony Richardson. Tennessee is horrifically bad. And Jacksonville can't take advantage of any of it. Because Jacksonville is arguably the biggest disappointment in the NFL.
Can I throw something at you real quick?
I would love for you to.
You know the draft pick that they traded for is in 2026.
Yes.
Does that sound like Baalke's got some job security?
No, I was getting, yeah. No, you're dead on, Denmark. I was getting there next.
Sorry, I didn't mean to.
No, you're good.
Show.
Dude, it's brotherly love. We're going to the city of brotherly love. You and I have brotherly love here on Hacker After Dark. All good, my man. Trent Baalke just traded for a draft pick in the 2026 draft, ladies and gentlemen. What does that tell you? What does that tell you? If a general manager thinks he's in trouble, thinks he might lose his job because of this football catastrophe that this season is being for the Jaguars, why would he make a draft pick to help his successor? Why would he trade for a draft pick that'll help the guy that's going to replace him? He wouldn't. At least in his mind, he wouldn't. Trent Baalke just traded for a 5th-round pick in 2026. Could become a 4th-round pick in 2026, depending on playing time for Cam Robinson. So you guys need to start wrapping your minds around this. Baalke at least thinks right now that he's going to be back. And in fact, he thinks he's going to be here for the long haul. Because that draft pick won't even be made for 18 months. Has he been told something from ownership? Is he that confident? Seems to be. Again, why would you trade a guy that can help you now in Cam Robinson for a draft pick that won't even be made for 18 months if you are, quote-unquote, on the hot seat? Because I don't think Trent Baalke is on the hot seat anymore. How can he be with this logic? Shad Khan said this was the best team ever assembled by the Jaguars. Where did he hear that? If this is the best team ever assembled, maybe it is. Maybe they haven't gotten the proper coaching, right? Maybe that's what the owner's being told. Who knows? I don't know. Just throwing stuff at a wall here on a Tuesday night. But it's not very hard to connect those dots, folks. Really isn't. Cam Robinson, Minnesota Vikings for a 2026 conditional 5th rounder that could turn into a 4th, depending on playing time. Matt Verderame, Sports Illustrated, one of my favorites to talk NFL ball with. We'll talk Trent Baalke. We'll do a deep dive into Trent Baalke. Doug Peterson, the 2-6 start, what Jacksonville can do to get out of it, if anything. That's next. Hacker After Dark, Tuesday night, Jacksonville, Florida. We're glad you're with us. 1010XL and 92.5 FM.
A sturdy defense keeps your end zone safe like a superior fence keeps your family and pets safe.
It's fantastic.
After the game, catch the Superior Fence and Rail Defensive Player of the Game.
What a baller.
On 1010XL.
Hacker here, and guys, the countdown is over. I didn't just hit the 100-pound mark. I blew past it thanks to Awaken 180 weight loss. 107 pounds gone just like that. More weight than a quarter keg of beer. Speaking of beer, here's where it gets fun. We're throwing a big celebration at Mr. Chubby's Wings in Ponte Vedra Beach. Yeah, you heard that right. A weight loss party at Mr. Chubby's. The irony's juicier than their wings, but here's the thing. I can celebrate at Mr. Chubby's and still keep the pounds off. If you didn't know, yes, wings are still on the menu while losing weight with Awaken 180 weight loss. Join me in 1010XL on November 9th for the Florida and Texas game, and you could win a spot at my table. Food is included. There'll be ticket giveaways and more for the celebration. If I can shed a whole Mr. Chubby and still throw a party at one, what's holding you back? Call Awaken 180, 844-346-1800, or hit up Awaken180weightloss.com, and let's get it done.
Ballou here for the Blue Crab House, located right off of San Jose. It's on Jewington Creek Road. They've been around since 1996. Indoor-outdoor dining. Also, takeout is available at the Blue Crab House. Open 4:30 to 9, Tuesday through Saturday. Sunday, noon until 9. Remember, Tuesday, $2 margaritas. Wednesday, $1 oyster night. How about the blue crabs? How about my personal favorite, the Canadian snow crabs? Whatever it is that you fancy, you get it right there. The Blue Crab House.
Bueller Air and Plumbing presents Are You Cool?
Today's contestant, a gravy taster from Jacksonville, Florida, me, Dennis Mosley.
Hi, Ken.
Okay, Dennis. 100 plumbers surveyed, top answer on the board. What does it mean if someone says your home has hard water?
It's made of ice? Let's see. Hard water. Oh,
Oh, is it club soda mixed 4-to-1 with vodka? Last chance, Dennis. What is hard water? Oh, is it that lime scale stuff that makes my taps all crusty?
That's right, Dennis. And a water treatment system from Bueller Air and Plumbing will eliminate troublesome lime scale deposits that can ruin your expensive appliances and let your neighbors know for sure that you are cool.
I wonder if I can get me a gin and tonic faucet.
Stay cooler with Bueller.
Visit BuellerAir.com.
Here's Heather with the weather.
Well, it's beautiful out there, sunny and 75, almost a little chilly in the shade. Now, let's get a read on the inside of your car. It is hot. You've only been parked a short time and it's already 99 degrees in there. Let's not leave children in the back seat while running errands. It only takes a few minutes for their body temperatures to rise, and that could be fatal.
Cars get hot, fast, and can be deadly. Never leave a child in a car. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
When the Dogs and Gators cross the bridge, the world's largest cocktail party becomes a fight on the First Coast.
The party of the year.
Florida-Georgia Week is celebrated by Kingfish Pest Control and Ackerman Urology and Cancer Center on 1010XL.
Hello, First Coast. I'm sure by now you have seen our bright green GFL trucks and containers throughout the greater Jacksonville area. We're an industry leader in solid waste and would love the opportunity to earn your business. We're committed to customer service, reliability, and have an unwavering focus on safety. Whether commercial or construction, let us haul your waste away. Call 904-760-5880 to get a quote today from GFL, Green for Life.
Hey, David, tell us a little bit about Royal Pest Services.
Well, Chris, I was raised in a middle-class family, and bugs have legs. And these bugs...
Whoa. David, just tell us about Royal Pest Services.
Just go to royalpestservices.com.
Need or want cash? Beaches Jewelry and Pawn has cash available. Ready to buy guitars, surfboards, jewelry, firearms, tools, and especially gold. They need it all, selling or pawning. Get cash on the spot at Beaches Jewelry and Pawn in Jacksonville Beach.
Instant Keys. You don't have to go to the dealer. Instant Keys comes to you. For lost or broken keys or nearly any make and model of vehicle, call 722-1111 for Instant Keys locksmith service.
At Hidden Hills Golf Club, we truly love the game of golf. We invite you to book your next tee time here and enjoy a golfing experience that you might not find at other public facilities. Visit us at hiddenhillsgc.com. You'll be glad you did.
Brian Wall here with Window World. You know that awesome feeling when you finally find that one place to go to that will give you a top quality product at a great price and then stand behind what they sell you? That's exactly what Window World does. Top quality, energy efficient windows at a great price that keeps more of your money in your bank account. With the absolute best guarantee in the window replacement business. That's why Window World has been the #1 window replacement company in the USA for years, selling more than 1 million windows each year for the past 8 years. That's a lot of satisfied customers, and you can be one too. Save money on installing new energy-efficient windows and save on your energy bills too. You can't lose. And if anything goes wrong with your new Window World windows ever, Window World and I will be there to make it right. Call Window World today or see them online and have them come and give you a free estimate and see why we are so proud of our products and the work we do for our customers. Call Window World or go online at windowworldneflorida.com. And thank you for your business.
Window World also offers energy-efficient doors.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555, Jacksonville. Now, another great guest on the Garber Auto Mall phone line.
Hello.
We can wiggle it.
Back here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville. We are glad you are with us. The Jaguars and the Eagles, Sunday at 4 o'clock. Jacksonville, well, they got flexed off of Sunday Night Football, and I guess that's probably a good thing, so the nation doesn't have to watch what we've been watching every week. A 2-6 Jaguar team and a Jaguar team that arguably might be the biggest disappointment in the National Football League to this point. With that, Matt Verderame of SI, always kind enough to join us here on 1010XL. Matt, how we doing?
Doing well. How are you, Ron?
Matt, we're good. Last time you and I talked was before Monday Night Football in Buffalo, and that was about 6 weeks ago. And at that point, we said, there could be a turnaround. The season's still in front of them. Everything's right there. And those thoughts have been shattered and crushed in front of our very eyes over the last month and a half. Matt, in your opinion, what on earth has happened here in Jacksonville this year?
A lot. Look, unfortunately for Jacksonville, it's been, I think there's been a collective failure. And usually when the team struggles this much, that's kind of what you're looking at. I think it starts with the fact that defensively, the team just is not good. There's no two ways to slice that. Look, Trayvon Walker's become a good player, and they've got that edge rush with Josh Hines Allen. But the rest of the defense, and Campbell has been hurt at times and all that, but they're not good enough. You're not when you play a team like the Packers who can throw the ball. I know Love got hurt at the part of the game. If you're playing the Bills, you're playing teams who can throw it. They're going to do it. They're going to throw the ball on you. And Jacksonville has been one of the worst pass defenses in the league now for a couple of years running. The coaching staff, look, a lot of this falls on Doug Peterson. They have not made adjustments. It's a lot of the same stuff every week. And then it has to be said, like, they paid Trevor Lawrence $275 million. I'm not sitting here saying that Trevor Lawrence is not a good quarterback. What I am saying is he is not playing quarterback at the level that they paid him to play quarterback at. I mean, there's no argument to sit there and say, yeah, he's playing like an elite quarterback. He's not. He's playing like a guy. They need him to be a lot more than that. But, yeah, around him, it has also been a failure from start to finish.
There are so many branches to go off of this, and we have limited time, so let's just kind of start at the top. Trent Baalke assembled this roster. Trent Baalke has assembled the last 3 or 4 rosters here in Jacksonville. How much of this falls on the general manager?
A ton of it. The offensive line's been in flux for years because they haven't gotten it right. I mentioned the defense. The defense has been a problem everywhere. I mean, let's call it what it is. The edge rush is good. Everything else is not. They're not good in coverage. The linebacker play is spotty. They don't marry their scheme to their players. And there's a lot of times when you look and say, well, this guy isn't built to play this scheme this way. And some of that, again, is because they changed D coordinators. And I'm not saying they shouldn't have after last year. They should have. But you've got to have some consistency, and you've got to have a marriage of personnel groups to coaching style, and they don't. So Baalke, to me, eats just as much as anybody, if not more than anybody. He's the one who's the architect of this roster, and the roster is what it is. It is a 2-6 roster that can't stop anybody from throwing the football.
Do you put a lot of this on Ryan Nielsen, or is this a player personnel situation? I mean, because the thought here is that maybe Nielsen's doing some things that they don't have guys that are equipped to do in far as coverage and whatnot. Or is this, in your opinion, just complete failure across the board, coaching, players, all of it?
I think Nielsen has struggled to adapt to the team and the players on the team is what I'm driving at. I think that's a fair critique and a fair criticism from watching Jacksonville. And I would say I've probably watched, 80% of their snaps this year. I think that's fair. I also would sit here and say that, again, other than the 2 edge rushers I mentioned, who on that defense would you look at and say, that guy is a plus player? That guy is a borderline or better Pro Bowl level player.
I'll tell you, and to that point, and you're right about that, to that point, the problem is you could argue Ventrell Miller has become that, and he's blown right past guys that should have been that, like, Devin Lloyd, guys of that sort. Ventrell's actually done some good things, which that's not good for a guy making like 4 starts in his career that he's blown past some of the other guys.
Right, and that speaks to a problem in drafting. That speaks to missing in free agency. I mean, look, I remember we talked during the offseason, and I said I thought Mitch Morse was a good signing for them. I didn't like the Gabe Davis signing. I never understood it. I just didn't understand, why? Why spend $39 million on a guy who people in Buffalo, they were, and it's not a personality thing. I want to make that clear, but like people in Buffalo are like, yeah, man, listen, thanks for the memories. Like, why? Why pay him? You have Brian Thomas Jr., who, by the way, is a bright spot. He's been awesome this year. Now Christian Kirk, of course, is out for the year at the collarbone, but has been a very good player for them. But you look around, you're like, how is that the best use of resources? Like, here's a team that direly needs a corner, a pass coverage linebacker, like maybe a safety who can really – and, like, they spent it on Gabe Davis. Why? And so that's where I think that, there is legitimate frustration, not only with the coaching staff for not being able to get guys to play to the level they need to get them to play at, But also, Trent Baalke's got to wear a lot of this. You bring in these guys who they haven't developed. You've overpaid them. They come in and they don't fit. And again, that's how you end up with a team that you're sitting there looking at. It's 2-6. And frankly, look, they're not perfect, but they've got more. They have enough talent, even with some of the issues we've talked about. They should at least be competitive, and they're not. Yesterday, they were competitive for part of the game, but they're not consistently competitive.
Couple more from Matt Verderame of Sports Illustrated. That brings me to Doug Peterson. What I don't like, Matt, is some of the things I heard Sunday after the game. He used terms like devastating. He used terms like heartbreaking loss. I mean, there's 9 games to go, man. I mean, when you're talking about devastation and heartbroken, that's a bad sign, is it not?
It is. I mean, you would remember. I believe it was definitely after one of the games over in England. I think it was after. Well, it must have been after the game that they lost there against Chicago, where he talked about, well, we got to have the right culture. And I was sitting there listening to him talk. I'm like, Doug, you're the coach. You are the culture. Like, you can't sit there and talk about how the culture's got to be better. You've been there for years. It's not like he showed up at the beginning of this season. Okay, I can hear that a little bit. You're taking over. You're trying to get it right. That's insane. You can't be the one walking up there talking about, the culture right. How do you not have the culture right? That is a self-indictment. So, look, Jacksonville at this point, to me, the rest of this year has got to be about, you got to find out which young guys are worth keeping and playing and elevating and which guys aren't. And then you got to get Lawrence to play to his peak abilities. And look, yesterday's a perfect microcosm of Lawrence's season. He was not good for a huge stretch to start that game, and then almost won them the game by playing like lights out football down the stretch. He's got to be that guy all the time. You paid him $55 a year. He's got to be that guy every quarter, every week. That's why guys are getting paid to that extent.
It's interesting that they play the Eagles on Sunday, and we remember how Doug Peterson's tenure in Philadelphia ended, and there was some Press Taylor issues up there. Now, we didn't know about that here in Jacksonville at the time because that was a Philadelphia problem. But in talking to Philadelphia people this week heading into the game, and I know you've covered the league for a while, here we are 4 or 5 years after Peterson was in Philly, and there are now Press Taylor issues with another market that might cost him another job. I mean, it's becoming weird, Matt, is it not?
Listen, a lot of the NFL is incestuous, and guys just stick with their guys. They do. I mean, it's funny, like every year when there are coaches out there, it's not always that hard to figure out where they're going to go because you just look at it and go, oh, this guy coaches this guy, and that's usually where they go. It's getting the band back together, and Doug Peterson looks at Preston. He's his guy, and he's going to just ride with his guy. I mean, that is a lot. If Doug Peterson were to get fired tomorrow and you said, where is his next stop if he becomes an assistant? Probably Kansas City, probably Andy Reid. That's probably where he'd go. Like, that's just how the league works. I think that is a big part of it. And by the way, that is not an endorsement. That is the reason a lot of these guys, they fail repeatedly because they just cannot move up. Look at what's going on with the Jets right now with Hackett in New York. Then they've demoted him and whatever. I mean, there's one reason that Nathaniel Hackett's in New York. It's because Aaron Rodgers wants him in New York. That's it. That's the only reason he's there. And, it's obviously not going very well.
Final moments, Matt Verderame of Sports Illustrated. All right, that brings us to the inevitable question. Hot seat talk. Will Doug Peterson be shown the door? Will Trent Baalke join him? Let me ask you, and what we like about you, Matt, is you don't sugarcoat a whole lot. Do you think it should be a combo deal? Baalke and Peterson both should be gone sooner rather than later?
Yeah, they should both be fired at the end of the year if this continues. Yeah, because to me, the biggest sin a team makes, and you do see it sometimes, although I'd say it's more rare than not, teams will fire the coach, but they'll let the general manager stay on. Why? Because then the problem is if let's say you kept Baalke and Peterson goes, Baalke hires whoever he hires. And in a year from now, the team doesn't look any better. The roster's not good. Well, now if you fire Baalke, now every GM candidate who walks in there is going to go, okay, well, can I have my guy? Can I hire my coach? And then you're like, well, now we got to fire another coach after 1 year. And then you've got coaching candidates, if you do that, who look at your team and go, well, I don't want to go there. They're about to be on 3 coaches in 3 years. Like, I have no stability. To me, if you're going to move on, have a clean break and move on.
In your opinion, how appealing would this job be to Ben Johnson?
I think it'd be interesting. I think it would be interesting. Look, I mean, for Shad Khan, for any flaws he has, they do spend money. Trevor Lawrence is a very talented quarterback. They've got weapons. Like, it's not like you'll look at them and go, they just can't do anything. I mean, they've got weapons. So I think it depends on the openings that are out there. But would I say that Jacksonville is a team that I think would be intriguing for candidates? Yeah, I do. I mean, look, I'll tell you right now, I'd rather take that job than the Jets job. There's no question in the world I'd rather take. If the Raiders decide to move on from Pierce after this year, and I'm not saying they will, but if they do, I would much rather go to Jacksonville. You look around, like if the Giants move off Dable, I would rather go to Jacksonville in terms of the team on the field. Maybe the Giants will want to pay more, who knows? But in terms of on the field, yeah, I'd rather go to Jacksonville. I think the Jags have pieces in place to be very interesting. But I also think at some point here, if I'm going there, I want to know, like, okay, who's the general manager and what is the plan here? Because that has been the undoing of Peterson, at least to some extent. And if I'm the next head coach here, I don't want to have that same issue.
Final question. They go to Philadelphia. The way the Eagles are playing, I mean, the NFL, yeah, any given Sunday, that's all fine and well. But, I mean, it's Hail Caesar for those about to be slaughtered on Sunday, correct?
Yeah, I think the Eagles are going to throw for about 400 yards in that game. They're going to spread them out, and they're just going to gut it. And I don't know what Jacksonville's going to do to them.
Well, a lot of optimism. Of course, you'll hear the game right here on 1010XL Sunday. Jaguars and the Eagles. Matt Verderame of SI. Matt, tell the good folks here in Jacksonville what they can look forward to on the website as we head into Week 9 of the NFL season.
Yeah, got a film study coming out. I got to do every Wednesday. I've got mid-season grades coming up. I've got a watchability index, which is kind of just a fun piece that I do every week for Saturday, where I just rank the top 10 games to watch and then have some fun with the commentary. And then Rookie Watch, which I'm sure Brian Thomas Jr. will be involved in. So just some staple pieces. And in the next magazine, I'll have a feature in there as well about how athletes train their eyes, which I think is actually a pretty fascinating thing. So people can check that out on newsstands and online when it comes out here in a few weeks.
He's one of our favorites, Matt Verderame of SI. Matt, I know you're busy. Thank you for the time. We'll talk again soon, pal.
Hey, you got it. Anytime.
There you go, Matt Verderame here with us on Hacker After Dark. Love talking with that guy. Doesn't sugarcoat a whole lot. Kind of tells you what he thinks, which is why we love having him on. Big news of the night, Cam Robinson traded to the Minnesota Vikings in exchange for a 2026, that's 18 months from now, the April 2026 draft, which will be a 5th rounder, a conditional 5th rounder, could get moved up to a 4th rounder, depending on playing time for Cam Robinson. The interesting thing also is that the Minnesota Vikings come to Jacksonville in 12 days. So Cam Robinson will be presumably playing against the Jacksonville Jaguars the next time the Jaguars are at home on Sunday, November the 10th, when the Minnesota Vikings come in here. So, that's going to be really interesting. I'm sure that's happened before. Probably not that many times. I'll talk to Leon Searcy about it tomorrow. We'll have Coach Campo next week, Cecil Shorts as well. I mean, Denmark, Cam Robinson knows all their plays, right? I mean, he knows their formations. He knows their audibles. He knows everything. He's been here with Trevor's entire career. And this is a conversation, I guess, more for next week, but how much can Jacksonville change in 11 days that Cam Robinson's not going to know and be able to help Minnesota with?
Doesn't matter.
Well, you say that. I mean, if you're trying to win the game, it matters.
Yeah, I mean, I think this happens more than you think. I mean, I can remember Randy Moss playing against – he was traded somewhere, I forget, later in his career, and he had just played –
I don't think he had played there 11 days prior.
Yeah, I mean, I think this was like the week of, but I mean, it happens more than you think. It's just, you got to change your signals and just, I don't know, just go with it.
It must happen more than I think because I don't think it happens very often at all. So by the law of averages, it would happen more than I think. Because, again, I don't remember at least a starter getting traded to a team that you're going to play against in 11 days. But nevertheless, that'll be a conversation for next week. Good for, you know what, by the way, I mean, say what you will about Cam Robinson, he's laughing till the cows come home, man. He's going from a dumpster fire here to a NFC divisional round, NFC championship contender in the Minnesota Vikings. Going from a 2-6 nightmare to a 5-2 team that is playing some very, very good football. So I'm sure Cam is absolutely loving life. You know, all those guys, I was thinking about this earlier. Zay Jones on a 500 team in Arizona. Darius Williams, they're 3-4 in L.A. Rayshawn Jenkins, Seattle is clearly better than Jacksonville. So all the guys the Jaguars cut, Roy Robertson-Harris is another one in Seattle, right? All the guys the Jaguars cut and or traded are clearly in better positions than the Jaguars are right now, which is obviously unfortunate. And yet, again, the ironic part there, Buffalo doesn't re-sign Gabe Davis and Mitch Morse. They haven't missed them at all. Green Bay says goodbye to Darnell Savage. They completely upgraded with Xavier McKinney, right? Ronald Darby leaves Baltimore. I don't think they're losing any sleep about that. Eric Armstead, 49ers just beat Dallas.
Forgot about McManus.
Brandon McManus, yeah, just beat Jacksonville. Has back-to-back game-winning field goals. Again, we always talk about salt in the wound. Well, there's a lot of damn salt I just threw at you. Everybody we cut, everybody we traded has now gone to a team that's just better than Jacksonville and in some cases has already beaten Jacksonville. And everybody that we brought in, their team has not missed them at all. And the AFC South today, if you missed this, Stephon Diggs out for the year, torn ACL in Houston. The Indianapolis Colts bench Anthony Richardson. The Tennessee Titans are just awful. And yet, despite all that, Jaguars can't do a thing about it because the Jaguars can't win a game in the fourth quarter. What a waste of a season. What missed opportunity after missed opportunity after missed opportunity. And tonight you have your general manager that many of us, many of you believe is quote-unquote on the hot seat, trading for draft compensation that won't even happen for 18 months from now. And again, I ask you guys, why would Trent Baalke do that if he thinks he's on the hot seat? Why would you accumulate draft picks in the 2026 draft if you believe that you are on the hot seat? I don't know. More Jaguars coming up in the 9 o'clock hour. Ryan Fowler of Bleacher Report. Also Ryan Roberts, A2ZSports.com. A lot of Jags, a lot of college ball, a lot of Florida-Georgia talk in the 9 o'clock hour. Coming up next, Rick Ballou. You hear him every night, into the night here on 1010XL. We talk Florida State with Rick every other week here on Hacker After Dark. But on a night like tonight, we will also get his thoughts about this Cam Robinson trade. Let's break bread with the truth teller. Next, Tuesday night, Jacksonville, Florida. It's Hacker After Dark.
Duval. That's right, I'm Tommy Mack, and it's all about Duval and defense. Offense, special teams, baby. Check me out every Friday from 10 to noon on Jaguars Today.
Brought to you by Renewal by Anderson Windows and Doors on 1010XL.
Here's Linda Beaver.
Let's start the debate. Why would someone buy a new car from you? We have an exclusive 20-year, 200,000-mile warranty on every new vehicle. We offer a competitive wow price plus free oil changes. How much will someone get for their trade? We offer more than $4,000 over KBV value. Well, we never lose a trade over price. Okay, when is the best time to buy a car? Right now. Ladies and gentlemen, it doesn't matter which side you pick. At Beaver Toyota and Beaver Chevrolet, you get it all. Let us show you why we're the winning vote.
The Jaguars are facing off against the Minnesota Vikings Sunday, November 10th for the Jag Salute to Service game. See the Shell White alternative helmets in action for the first time and join us in honoring our military all game long. Kickoff is 1 p.m. Don't miss this matchup and lock in your tickets now by visiting jaguars.com/tickets or call 904-633-2000. We'll see you at the bank.
Hey, Higgin here for America's #1 daily fantasy sports app with more than 5 million active members. It's Prize Picks. Listen, all you got to do is pick more or less on 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6 player stat projections and then watch the winnings roll in. Heck, you can win up to 100 times your money on Prize Picks with as little as 4 correct picks. Here's what you do. Sign up today and get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. And Prize Picks always offers weekly promotions that can lead to big payouts like Taco Tuesday. Each Tuesday, Prize Picks discounts select player projections up to 25% to provide even more value for your lineup. Hey, you think Justin Jefferson's going to have more than 83.5 receiving yards, or Patrick Mahomes will throw for less than 267.5 passing yards? Cook up hot takes with Prize Picks. Run your game.
Jacksonville, are you ready? The college basketball season is tipping off with an epic in-state showdown. The Florida Gators and South Florida Bulls go head-to-head in the Jacksonville Sports Foundation Invitational. Be there Monday, November 4th at Veterans Memorial Arena and witness this in-state rivalry live. Secure your seats now at Ticketmaster.com. It's Florida versus South Florida to start the college basketball season on November 4th in Jacksonville. Get your tickets now at Ticketmaster.com.
Go inside the huddle with our QB, David Garrard.
Hey, I know if you give me time, baby, we can do whatever we want.
And get into the head of an NFL signal caller. Mondays from 10 to noon on Jaguars Today. Brought to you by WaterboyJax.com on 1010XL.
Is an injury keeping you on the sidelines? Whether it's your shoulder, neck, back, knee, wrist, or ankle, don't let pain hold you back any longer. At Injury Care Centers, they offer the same high-tech treatments trusted by the pros to supercharge your recovery without surgery. The road to recovery starts the moment you pick up the phone. 904-783-0008. That's 904-783-0008. Injury care starts at Injury Care Centers.
Googan Nation, it's Dreamfinders Danny Hicken here to tell you this is no dream. The folks at Dreamfinders Homes right now have an unbeatable interest rate for you. You may not think you can afford a Dreamfinders home. Well, think again. Take advantage of a 2.99% year one rate. I said it, 2.99%. 15 Jacksonville communities to choose from. Find that dream house and take advantage of an unbeatable rate. Move now, literally. Dreamfinders Homes, the official home builder of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Atlantic Self-Storage, the official storage partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Need to make room to watch football in your home or need a place to park your boat or RV? Store it all at Atlantic Self-Storage. Over 50 locations in Northeast Florida. 24-hour access, all with month-to-month leases. Moving, they can help with supplies. They make storage easy. Go to AtlanticSelfStorage.com or call 877-WE-STORE to find a storage solution near you. Go Jags!
When it comes to towing products, your safety on the road is the priority at Cannons of Jacksonville. Whether it's a heavy-duty tow hitch, trailer frame, wiring, gooseneck, tow bar, or any other towing accessory, Cannons has decades of experience to ensure your towing setup is installed with precision and reliability. Visit cannonsofjax.com to explore a range of products and schedule your installation. Cannons of Jacksonville, your trusted partner for a smoother tow.
I'm Stacy, and I want to tell you about my fogged up window fiasco at my house. I called up Mac at Baker Glass, and he told me all I needed was a glass replacement. The process was so easy. All within a few days, they came out, measured, called me with an estimate, cut my glass, and came out to install the new ones. Now my view outside is fog-free thanks to Mac and his crew at Baker Glass. And my neighbors think I got some fancy new windows.
I'm Mac with Baker Glass. No one treats you better.
What word is misspelled on the Liberty Bell? The answer next.
Does your homeowner's insurance company contact you before, during, or after a big storm? If not, then it's time for you to contact Southern Oak Insurance. Find us online at southernoak.com.
Our family protecting yours. Southern Oak Insurance.
The word word Pennsylvania is misspelled on the Liberty Bell, which is unfortunate as this monument is featured in the Liberty Bell Center in Philadelphia.
Southern Oak Insurance, our family protecting yours.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville.
Now, the Seminole Point of View with Rick Ballou. Brought to you by Vaughn Motor Group on San Jose Boulevard. Dream it, drive it.
You get Rick Ballou into the night every night here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM, and he joins us here every other week on Hacker After Dark. Rick, pull you up here, my friend. How are you, sir?
Doing great. Cam Robinson moved. Freddie Freeman is just homered in his 6th consecutive World Series game. So
yeah.
A lot of good things happening tonight.
We're going to get to Florida State in a moment, but you mentioned Cam Robinson. That happened about 30 minutes to go in your program tonight. You've had about 90 minutes or so to digest it. Your thoughts, your reaction to the Cam Robinson trade.
Well, I've never been a fan. I would have gotten rid of him a couple of years ago. I thought he was one of the more overrated players. And I know you and I talked about it right at the start of your show. I mean, you can make the case that, yeah, he is on Mount Rushmore, but I never thought he was a top tackle in the league or even a top 15 or 16 if you go halfway through the left tackles in the NFL. The flip side of that, I wouldn't be surprised if he plays well now for Minnesota with 11 games remaining in the playoffs and gets himself a nice new fat contract. The disturbing part about this is when you make a move and you get a 2026 pick, I've been saying it all along. I think Trent Baalke is going to survive this, and you don't make a move for a 2026 pick. Jacksonville's not better today moving Cam Robinson for the matchup this weekend against Philadelphia or next week against Minnesota. So Trent Baalke making these moves, again, supports what I have believed all along. Trent Baalke is going to remain the general manager of the Jaguars in 2025.
Yeah, I'll give you credit. You've said that for a while now, that you believe Baalke will be retained regardless of what happens with Doug Peterson, and it's hard to argue that logic. I talked about it earlier. You're right, a 2026. I mean, that draft pick won't even be made for 18 months, and if you're going to do something like that, it's obvious Baalke at least believes he has a little bit of job security. All right, to Florida State. Sorry for the transition from a 2-6 disaster in the NFL to a 1-7 disaster in college. Rick, I'm 41 years old. I go back to 1990. It's like my first memory of football when I was 6, 7 years old. This is the worst Florida State team I've ever seen. And that's not radio shtick or hyperbole or anything. I'm being dead serious. This is the worst Florida State team, or clearly the worst offense I've ever seen. The defense plays when they want to. I mean, what a failure just across the board in that football program this year. It's been a disaster.
Yeah, it's by far the worst that I've ever seen, without any question. And I don't know how they're going to fix it. I think the only option is Luke Kromenhoek, and he did a couple of nice things against Miami, but you got to take into consideration that was a Miami team that had allowed 34 or more points in their 3 consecutive games before facing Florida State. And you had the broken play at the line of scrimmage by Kromenhoek, which went for about 50 yards. And then they scored a garbage touchdown with 0 time left. So they put up 14. That shows how anemic that offense is. And, of course, those last 2 drives, which really irritated me and many Florida State Seminole fans, is Mike Norvell goes back to Brock Glenn. So here we are midweek. We don't know who the quarterback is. He's not going to tell us, but my money would be on Brock Glenn as your starter. So then all of a sudden you look up and, you're down 10-0, you're down 14-0 against UNC, and you're going to turn to the freshman and say, all right, get us some points. We'll put you in now for the 3rd drive or the 4th drive. So I think that is a problem. Their only hope is Kromenhoek. This is going to be an awful recruiting class for Florida State, a historically bad recruiting class for Florida State. So even though it has failed miserably this year, Mike Norvell is going to have to go back to the transfer portal and get a lot of position players. I want to believe that the future is with Luke Kromenhoek at quarterback. So Give him the snaps. Give him the reps. Find out if he is the guy. I feel like I've already seen enough in Brock Glenn, and he's not it. And Hacker, we get it. They can't run. It's a bad offensive line. You're very limited right now. So you're not getting, the full Florida State offense of what you think it's going to be like in a year. But still, experience for this guy is massive. The last thing that Florida State wants is to go into 2025 with all of these problems, and you're going to hear that it's going to be a spring battle, and you're going to go through the month of August trying to figure out who your quarterback is, Glenn or Kromenhoek. You got to settle on the one. And in my opinion, on the two games that we've seen, the one is Luke Kromenhoek.
Couple more for Rick Ballou. He takes you into the night every night here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM. Rick, that Mike Norvell contract extension is starting to give me Gene Chizik vibes. Is that fair?
Oh, it's totally fair. And, you and I have been talking forever, quite some time. By the way, Zach Dawn, it's not. It's off the top of the wall. So the Yankees look like they're going to get on the board here and make it a 2. Actually, they're going to hold them at third. So second and third, 2-0 LA, just to kind of update the listeners as the Dodgers try to sweep this World Series tonight against the Yankees. It's a terrible contract, and I've never thought that Mike Norvell was a good in-game coach. I have a variety of reasons to support that. Going forward on fourth down, the second quarter against Notre Dame in a very winnable game 4 years ago where Mackenzie Milton is playing, not Jordan Travis, not playing prevent defense against Jacksonville State. I think he is a good man. I think he's an emotional man. I think the kids like him. I think he's in over his head, and others will say, are you kidding me? This guy won 19 straight games. He really hit the lottery with a lot of those transfer portal guys, and that's the only way he's going to get this program back. Jordan Travis was absolutely sensational in his career at Florida State, particularly with his escapability. And, Hacker, I think you need to fire the entire staff outside of Patrick Surtain, their defensive back coach, although I believe he wants to go to the NFL. And you are going to have to spend a lot of money with doing that, and you're going to have to find some guys who are good high school recruiters. That is not the case right now in this Florida State staff. They lose more decommitments every year, very good football players, Isaiah Bolden and Travis Hunter among them. And look at all the recruits they've already lost this year who verbally committed to Florida State. So this is a long, drawn-out process for the rebuild here, but I still think the best bet is to go with Luke Kromenhoek and find out if, in fact, he is your QB.
And Gene Chizik, for that reference that people maybe didn't get, got a huge contract the year after Auburn won the title with Cam Newton. Cam Newton left, and Auburn went in the toilet, and they were stuck with that Gene Chizik contract, and he was out less than a calendar year later. Rick, final thought. They're back at home on Saturday. What's that crowd going to be like for a 1-7 team playing North Carolina?
It's a really good fan base. I think those who are devoted will show up. There won't be as many, and of course they're aided by the construction that's going on that lessens the overall capacity. But I know of some that have sold seats, and North Carolina is still a basketball school. They don't draw all that well on the road as far as a football team. So I think the crowd will actually be a little bit better than I think some project. But the question to me, Hacker, is can this team score? We know that UNC is terrible on defense. They gave up 70 points to James Madison, but I still think Carolina wins it because they can score on offense. They have one of the best running backs in all of college football. And I think North Carolina is going to score, 30-some-odd points in this game. And, just look at Florida State this year. They are lucky to score 14 in contests. So, I think the crowd will be better than we expect. But unfortunately for Florida State fans, I still think North Carolina will win this game.
Into the night, every night with Rick Ballou right here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM from 6 o'clock until 8 o'clock. Rick, thank you, my friend. I'll see you tomorrow.
All right, Hacker. Take care.
Truth teller, Rick Ballou here with us on Hacker After Dark. Denmark, you're 15 years younger than me, so maybe it doesn't resonate with you as much as it resonates for me, but to see Florida State with a 1-7 next to their name, my brain just simply cannot compute that. I mean, illogical. It's unprecedented. It's, quite frankly, just unbelievable. I mean, this Florida State growing up, with Casey Weldon and Danny Cannell to Thad Busby to obviously Charlie Ward and Warwick Dunn, and go on down the great Florida State football players of the 1990s and the early to mid 2000s. And even when they hit that, fork in the road, if you will, at the very end of Bobby, when he didn't want to get out and they kind of forced him out, they would go 7-5, right? 8-4, but they're 1-7, man. And they're lucky to have the one. Cal, you could argue, outplayed them and just couldn't do anything in the Florida State red zone. So 1-7. They still got to go to South Bend to play Notre Dame. They're not going to win that. They're going to lose 8. They will beat Charleston Southern, I think. And then to me, North Carolina and Florida are probably toss-ups just because they're in Tallahassee. But at the very best, you're talking 4-8, 3-9. And again, I don't know about you, Denmark, but I cannot rationalize a Florida State football team being this awful.
No, and I really don't like it for, being high school football. It's good in the state whenever Florida State and Miami are good. And obviously, Miami is good right now. I was looking back at 2019 because that was probably the worst Florida State team I've seen whenever they went to Gainesville in 2019 when they had Cam Akers and Blackman as a quarterback.
Yeah.
They still went 6-6 that year.
Right.
And I don't remember them being 6-6 good. They were awful.
Willie Taggart won 5 games. I mean, if he can do that.
I'll be surprised if they find 2 wins before they go play Florida Thanksgiving weekend. It is really bad down there.
I mean, I keep thinking they're going to turn the corner. I thought they might beat Duke. I thought they might beat SMU. I can't pick them anymore. They're awful. There is no corner to be turned when you're this bad. I mean, I don't know how you could pick them to beat North Carolina. For the life of me, I don't see it. 1 hour down, 1 hour to go here on Hacker After Dark. Coming up in the 9 o'clock hour, a couple of Ryans to join this Ryan. How about that? We'll have Ryan Fowler of Bleacher Report, also Ryan Roberts of RiseandDraft.com, and he's also with A to Z Sports.com. Now, Ryan not only is the draft guy for A to Z Sports, he's also their college football guy. So we'll do a little cocktail party talk. We'll obviously continue the Jaguar conversation and the Cam Robinson conversation. That's the big news of the night. Cam Robinson traded from Jacksonville to Minnesota for a 2026 conditional 5th-round pick. Say what? Yeah, that's what they traded him for. More to do. Hour 2 rolls on. 1010XL, 92.5 FM.
In every game, there's a limited number of drives.
Our best, here we go!
And there's only one drive of the game.
That's a good old-fashioned rear-end whipping.
Listen for the Randy Marion Cadillac of Jacksonville drive of the game on 1010XL. Now you can watch 1010XL shows all day on X, Facebook, and YouTube. Brought to you by MyBookie. Experience Vegas from the comfort of your phone anytime, anywhere. Sign up today. Use promo code 1010XL.
Rick Ballou for Carlson Dental. I've been telling you this for quite some time because it's true. I hate going to the dentist, or at least I used to hate going to the dentist. I had total anxiety, and then I tried sedation. Light sedation for cleaning and deep sedation as well for cavities and root canals. Folks, it's an incredible experience. So don't be nervous. Don't be scared. Go to CarlsonDentalGroup.com. That's CarlsonDentalGroup.com for all of your dental needs.
Here's Heather with the weather.
Well, it's beautiful out there, sunny and 75, almost a little chilly in the shade. Now, let's get a read on the inside of your car. It is hot. You've only been parked a short time and it's already 99 degrees in there. Let's not leave children in the back seat while running errands. It only takes a few minutes for their body temperatures to rise, and that could be fatal.
Cars get hot fast and can be deadly. Never leave a child in a car. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
Home of the Jacksonville Jaguars. WJXL AM Jacksonville Beach. WJXL FM Jacksonville Beach.
Have you tried golfing at the improved Cimarron Golf Club? If you haven't, tell you what, you're missing out on the best deal in Jacksonville. Now, many of you have received a postcard in the mail, and of course, if you bring that with you, $45 plus tax to play. That includes a cart, lunch, and a beer at the brand new Stone Barrel Tap House. Now, go to the website, that is CimarronGolfClub.com, and sign up for the Wild One Loyalty Program. That's the Wild One Loyalty Program, and get all of these specials emailed to you from Cimarron.
Are spooky plumbing problems haunting your home this Halloween? Don't be scared. Call Duck Duck Rooter, your ghost-busting plumbing heroes.
Hi there, I'm Brian, your friendly plumber. Is your toilet making ghostly groans, or is your sink dripping like a vampire's fangs?
Don't let plumbing problems give you the heebie-jeebies. Call Duck Duck Rooter at 904-862-6769 and chase those spooky issues away.
Duck Duck Rooter, because even plumbing nightmares deserve a happy ending. Quacktastic service guaranteed.
Here's your 1010XL First Coast Community Calendar.
Thousands of people in Duval County suffer from Alzheimer's. To join the Walk to End Alzheimer's at UNF November 9th, visit alz.org/Jacksonville Walk.
You can make a difference in the lives of people living with lung cancer. To join the American Lung Association at the Lung Force Walk at UNF November 16th, log on to lungforce.org/Jacksonville.
The Farm Share Thanksgiving Distribution Drive-Thru event is Saturday, November 23rd at the FSCJ Downtown Campus, starting at 8:30 a.m. until the food runs out. Call 328-6158.
There's a critical need for all blood types. Please consider donating to a local blood donation center.
The Tom Coughlin J Fund helps families battling childhood cancer, and there are ways you can help. Go to tcjfund.org.
You can find out how to share your community event at 1010XL.com.
Hello there. Brendan from Play It Again Sports here to congratulate all the parents for surviving another summer. The kiddos are back to school, and you know what that means? Sports are back. But don't fret. Play It Again Sports has the gear you need at prices worthy of excessive celebration. From sluggers and shooters to clappers and benders, Play It Again Sports can turn your kids into goats. Stop in today on Merrill Road near 295 or online at playitagainjacks.com.
Former Jaguars corner and first-year head football coach at Duval Charter School at Bay Meadows, K-12, Aaron Beasley here. Are you looking for an A-rated K-12 school prioritizing academics, arts, and athletics? Duval Charter School at Bay Meadows offers a rigorous curriculum to develop strong minds with an additional focus on growing good hearts. DCSB has been an A school for 8 years, and our tuition is free. Now enrolling. Apply at baymeadowscharter.org.
Does the building you go to work in every day need a little love and attention? Jason Parker here with Performance Painting. Great companies take great care of the buildings their staff and customers walk into every day. If the building you're in doesn't match the vision you have for your company, we can help. Go to performance-painting.com. Our highly trained team makes the difference. Quality coatings applied with pride.
Performance Painting. 1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Hacker After Dark on 1010XL.
Game 4, World Series. The Dodgers can win it tonight. They're up 3-0 in the series. Bottom of the third, they lead the New York Yankees 2-1. Boy, I don't know if anybody saw a sweep in this series coming. Dodgers have been very good, but a sweep? We'll see if the Yankees can come back. The MVP, if the Yankees don't come back, is a no-brainer. Freddie Freeman has had one of the best World Series that we've ever seen. How many homers does he have in this World Series?
Well, he's set a home run in 6 straight World Series games.
So 4 home runs, including a game-winning grand slam in Game 1. That, ladies and gentlemen, will get you the MVP of a World Series if the Dodgers win it tonight or when they eventually win it. Again, they're up 3-0. But they're up 2-1 tonight, Game 4, bottom of the third. Yankees trying to win it to extend it to a Game 5. Coming up next, Ryan Fowler of Bleacher Report and the Draft Network. We'll talk Jags. We'll talk their struggles. We'll look around the rest of the AFC South. Later on at the bottom of the 9 o'clock hour, Ryan Roberts, A2ZSports.com, talking a little Florida, Georgia, a little Florida State, Miami, and a little Jaguar draft talk. Won't commit to that, but we'll skirt the edges with one of my draft guys, Ryan Roberts. That's all coming up. 9 o'clock hour rolls on. Hacker After Dark right here on 1010XL and on 92.5 FM.
The big stories from the weekend's big games.
They're fans of football.
That's what Postgame Monday is for.
What a game. Amazing.
Brought to you by Daddy Foods, makers of quality fresh sandwiches and home of the good stuff on 1010XL.
Awaken 180 weight loss. Awaken 180 weight loss. You know, I went down to high school basketball media day today. I saw a lot of coaches in the area that I hadn't seen in the last calendar year, right? They listen to the show and they know that I've lost the weight, but they haven't actually seen me. When they walked in and they saw me today, I know the reaction by now. I just know it. When people haven't seen me for a while, they can't believe it. 108 pounds. And it's all thanks to Awaken 180 weight loss. From 317 pounds and just feeling awful to 209 pounds and feeling like a new man. And it's all thanks to the best weight loss program I've ever been on. If you need to lose 100 pounds, if you need to lose 20 pounds, any point in between, Awaken 180 is the answer for you. Take it from a guy who's lost 100 pounds on this program. They can change your life because they changed mine. Awaken180weightloss.com.
Bueller Air and Plumbing presents Are You Cool?
Today's contestant, a gravy taster from Jacksonville, Florida, me, Dennis Mosley.
Hi, Ken.
Okay, Dennis. 100 plumbers surveyed, top answer on the board. What does it mean if someone says your home has hard water?
It's made of ice? Let's see. Hard water. Oh, is it club soda mixed 4-to-1 with vodka?
Last chance, Dennis. What is hard water?
Oh, is it that lime scale stuff that makes my taps all crusty?
That's right, Dennis. And a water treatment system from Bueller Air and Plumbing will eliminate troublesome lime scale deposits that can ruin your expensive appliances and let your neighbors know for sure that you are cool.
I wonder if I can get me a gin and tonic faucet.
Stay cooler with
Bueller. Visit BuellerAir.com.
I'm here with Danny Van Sickle, Director of the Electrical Training Alliance. Danny, tell me about your program.
Hey, Rick, we're a 5-year electrical apprenticeship. Our students start out making over $40,000 a year, and right now graduate making over $90,000 a year, including benefits. There is no tuition or no student debt. You just have to apply and get accepted.
Did you say no tuition and no student debt?
You heard that right, Rick. Once you're accepted to the program, your only cost for the books and the course fees. About $800 a year.
That sounds like an amazing opportunity. How can I learn more?
Just go to etajax.org, and you can apply there.
Apply by November 7th.
This is your Mad Dad's Update with Chapter President Donald Ford. In our effort to curb crime, drugs, and violence during the summer months, we are offering Friday Night Lights. It has already started and will be going until school starts back. It is every Friday night from 6:30 to 9:30 at the Blacktop, 5732 Normandy Boulevard, and behind the Potter's House Christian Academy. We manage 3 basketball courts. You are not running on the cement. We have covering on each court. The Lakers, the Magic, and the Heat. Ages 15 to 40 years old. This will give them something to do other than selling drugs and getting into trouble. We have monitors there giving leadership. We have to wake up, stand up, and speak up. Hit me on Facebook and tell me what you think. Or MattDadJacksonville.com.
PRP treatment is kind of the thing these days, and in many cases, it eliminates the need for surgery. This is Sheridan Tootin, and my experience with PRP from Southeast Orthopedic Specialist has been nothing short of great. I'm really feeling much better now. Ask your Southeast Orthopedic Specialist doctor about PRP treatment.
This is Dr. Kevin Murphy with Southeast Orthopedic Specialists, where athletes are treated like pros.
Relieve pain and get back to life. SOS. Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
Cooking with Prisco.
These things are wonderful. You're going to love it. Have a rolling.
Oh. Catch CBS Sports senior NFL writer Pete Prisco every Friday afternoon on The Franchi Show. Brought to you by Showtime Sports Cards and Collectibles on 1010XL.
Brackish Vodka, the official vodka of UNF Athletics, 100% made in Jacksonville, is available at all local liquor stores. Visit Browdy's, Total Wine, ABC, Shores, Golden, Sahara's, Golden Ox, and more. Drink our gluten-free San Francisco Spirit award-winning vodka and see why it's the smoothest vodka you can buy. When you drink Brackish Vodka, you support all of our local employees and all the money stays in Jacksonville. Drink Brackish Vodka and live life slightly salty. Proud partner of the Jaguars.
How far is it from the surface of the earth to the core of the earth?
Is your home your most valuable asset? It is for most of us. And Southern Oak Insurance recommends an annual review. Log on to southernoak.com for more information.
Our family protecting yours. Southern Oak Insurance.
From the surface to the core of the earth is about 1,800 miles and has a temperature of over 9,000 degrees, hotter than the sun.
Southern Oak Insurance. Our family protecting yours. If you're ready to transform your yard with a fence that stands out, elevate your curb appeal with Superior Fence and Rail. Superior takes pride in offering first-class service, friendly installers, and unmatched fence products. Mention this ad and get $250 off your next project. It's time to get off the fence and call today.
When you're on the fence, about a fence, SuperiorFenceandRail.com.
1010XL is presented by Barra & Barra, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Now, another great guest on the Garber Auto Mall phone line.
Hello.
We can wiggle it.
Back here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville. We are glad you are with us. The Jaguars and the Eagles, Sunday, 4 o'clock. Of course, you'll hear the game right here on 1010XL radio. The Jaguars 2-6. That's reality as they go to Philadelphia. And we'll see what happens. I don't think a lot of people have a lot of optimism going to the city of brotherly love. With that, my buddy Ryan Fowler of Bleacher Report also does a terrific job for the Draft Network. He's always kind enough to join us here on 1010XL in Jacksonville. Ryan, how you doing?
I'm doing well, Ryan. Doing well. Always appreciate you having me on.
Ryan, we always thank you for the time. You and I spoke on air about a month ago, and at that point, the Jaguars were disappointments, but we thought they might be turning a corner. 0-4, we'll see what happens. Well, those thoughts have been pretty much erased from my mind, Ryan, at this point. They're 2-6, arguably one of the biggest disappointments in the NFL. Injury-plagued now. It's been borderline a disaster here in Duval County. And as a guy that covers the league on a league-wide spectrum, I'm just curious your thoughts on exactly what has gone wrong here in Jacksonville.
Yeah, it is extremely disappointing. I think even when we talked back in the summer, Ryan, we talked about the AFC South, where there's young quarterbacks littered with talent. The division's getting better. Obviously, Houston was the focus after last year and the focus heading into this year. And they've obviously really met expectations so far this year. But in Jacksonville, to where you look at the structure that Doug Peterson, Trent Baalke have built in the roster, really in all three phases of the game, you looked at it fundamentally, at least on a spreadsheet and a depth chart perspective, and said this is a team that you at least expect to compete in the division and you expect to compete for a playoff spot at the end of the day, worst case scenario. And the assets that they have there on both sides of the ball, I mean, there's some guys, you can look at this roster right now through 8 games and say that some guys have flashed. I mean, you look at Tank Bigsby, you look at what Ventrell Miller did this past week against Green Bay. There are some guys flashing, but in the grand scheme of things, you're 2-6, and you are what your record says you are. And even though they have been decently competitive the last 2 weeks of the season, that's not good enough for this roster. The division around them has been terrible, specifically with Indianapolis and Tennessee, who have been very underwhelmed with, even though Tennessee's playing 500 football. But looking at this roster right now, from an execution standpoint, which is what really it comes down to on either side of the football, it flat out has not been good enough. And it is a real disappointment considering the type of window that this team was in entering 2024.
Ryan, what's been your assessment of quarterback Trevor Lawrence?
Yeah, Trevor for me has been, look, I think the biggest trait with Trevor, and really for the elite quarterbacks in the league, because for me, I still think he has the ability to be a top 5 quarterback in football. I really do. I really think he does. Now, I know there's some wavering opinions possibly on that. And it's not going to help that, that Travis Etienne's missed time and now Brian Thomas is going to miss time and Christian Kirk's not for the year. But when you look at him, the elite trait for him, I always thought was the ability to elevate those around him. And the next few weeks are going to be a huge test for him. The biggest thing for me right now with Trevor, and that starts at Philadelphia, who's playing some good ball, and they're going to get after him this week. And considering the injuries that the Jaguars have experienced up front with the swapping at tackle this past week, they're going to get after him. But he has to elevate those guys. Why? Because they paid him to do so, and that is the elite trait of some of the top 5-7 quarterbacks in football right now. So I think he's been underwhelming. I can't sit here and say that he's played good football. I think there's times where he makes good throws. There's flashes. But you talk about flashes with guys like Bo Nix. You talk about flashes with Spencer Rattler in New Orleans. Not an established veteran in the league that Trevor Lawrence already is in his young career and considering the money that he's making. So you need more from the position, and you're going to look to leaders like that in the locker room to elevate the 10 other guys on offense. And that's what Trevor Lawrence has to do, not just next week, but the rest of the season, if the Jaguars are going to try and at least turn around and potentially try to meet expectations and maybe qualify for the playoffs. Who knows?
Ryan Fowler, Bleacher Report, and the Draft Network here with us on 1010XL in Jacksonville. All right, Ryan, the two biggest, I hate to call them public enemies here in town, but they kind of are in the mind of the fan base right now. Let's begin with Trent Baalke. He's gotten a lot of grief. Now, I thought he did some good things this offseason, but obviously that hasn't come to fruition on the field. Baalke has been around now for 4 years, and look, they have no more than 9 regular season wins in those 4 years. In the free agent crop he brought in, Eric Armstead, Darnell Savage, Gabe Davis, Mitch Morse, Ronald Darby has not been exactly great. What's been your thought on Trent Baalke and the job he's done?
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned it. I think if this continues and this ugly trend, right, you're winners of 2 your first 8 games, which is not good. And I've already talked about the talent that is there, but just talent doesn't win you football games at the end of the day on Sunday. I think there may be a change. And I don't know if it's going to be wholesale, meaning from GM to head coach down, but that's something that may need to occur. Because when there's situations like this where you enter a year and there are expectations, the flag was so high entering 2024, looking at this roster to where it's not just, of course, you have to go on the football field and execute from a player's perspective, but it always comes in the head coach and it always comes in the guy building this thing from an architectural perspective, and that is Trent Baalke. Now, I know you mentioned some of those free agent additions, and I talked about a couple of the guys that they've added in the draft over these last few years. Specifically, I look at a guy like Ventrell Miller, and Tank Bigsby last year. Those couple guys are flashes. But at the end of the day, you look back to 2023 when they had 10, 11, 12 picks, whatever it was, and you can pick maybe a couple guys out of that draft that have shown up now working into year 2 where those guys are coming in as core contributors as a drafting on day 3, the 3 6th-round selections, the multiple 7s that they had to come in as special teams contributors. It's just not good enough. And as much as it is drafting and as much as it is bringing in guys in free agency, it's also allowing those guys to adjust to your scheme and what you're going to do on offense and defense and having guys buy in. And I don't think on either side of the ball right now, you're not seeing a lot of guys for the Jaguars buy in. And I look at a guy like Travis Etienne when healthy. I look at a guy on the defensive side of the ball like Devin Lloyd, who right now is being outplayed by Ventrell Miller. Is it Andre Sisco? Are they going to part with him at the deadline? There's some guys on either side of the ball here. Cam Robinson at tackle. What's that situation going to be? It's just so many questions without any answers right now for this roster. And you have to look back to Trent Baalke because from him selecting players and in free agency, bringing them in, there's no execution on either side of the ball right now. And it's very disappointing, Ryan.
It's interesting. Shad Khan, the owner, you talk about the expectations. Again, Ryan Fowler, Bleacher Report, and the Draft Network here with us. Shad Khan went public with those comments back during training camp. This is the best team the Jaguars have ever assembled. And there's a lot of speculation here in town, and it hasn't been refuted, so the speculation continues that Shad heard that from Trent Baalke, the GM, as maybe a CYA move if the team doesn't work out. And the team hasn't worked out. So the thought is, does Khan believe the talent is there, they're just not getting the proper coaching, which would be the full blame on Doug Peterson. So, again, a lot of speculation, but it has not been refuted. So you wonder what the relationship's like between Baalke and Peterson as people start trying to look out for themselves pretty soon here. What's your thought on the job Doug Peterson has done?
Yeah, I think when you bring in Doug Peterson, go back to a few years ago, there's a lot of attention, of course, in what he did in Philadelphia with that roster. And you're coming into this roster in Jacksonville to where there was a nice mix, right, of veterans. You have your franchise quarterback. You've added some talent in the draft, and you brought in pieces in free agency, even though you could say back to Trent Baalke that he's ignored a couple of positions these last few years. But what I'm looking at with Doug Peterson, obviously the head coaches always take the blame of everything. It's just you're not getting a locker room. Your voice has become mute in that room, I think, right now. You're 2-6 with a roster that should not be 2-6. And you're losing games. You're not just losing them. You're getting blown out by teams like Chicago. And it's no flack towards Chicago, but that's a roster right now that has a lot of holes on it, even though the offensive side of the ball is very interesting and very exciting. So it's just, I think right now with Doug, I'm not saying he's a guy that's over the hill. He's a guy that doesn't belong in a head coaching position, because I do think he is a guy that can rally a roster, rally a group of guys, veteran-laden, youth-infused kids, and get ready to play every single Sunday and bring this roster back to competitiveness. But when you're 2-6, you just mentioned the stuff with ownership and GM to where there be some fractured relationships there. That stuff trickles down the locker room. Doug Peterson hears that stuff. Then you get to start into this mindset as a player to where I'm not listening to these coaches. I'm not buying into what they're doing. And it just creates this influx of negative energy, really, that cancer potentially in an organization, in a facility. 3 guys got showing up and don't even want to come to play each weekend. And then quickly, not just 2-6, you could be 2-8, 2-9, 2-10, and quickly look into April and quickly reevaluating this roster as far as what you're going to be, not just in 2025, but 26, 27, 28, as that contract and Trevor Lawrence continues to get paid, which is scary considering the window, Ryan, at the end of the day, that, again, this team thought they were in, but what they're doing right now through 8 weeks, both on and off the field from a preparation standpoint and an execution standpoint, is really, really unfortunate right now for Jacksonville.
I thought you and I were done talking draft in November and December, but if they're 2-10, we're going to start talking draft again, you and I, in November and December. Again, final moments, Ryan Fowler, the Draft Network, and Bleacher Report. Ryan, I'm curious your perspective, again, covering every team in the league, how appealing this job would be in Jacksonville, because there's no doubt Ben Johnson of Detroit, the offensive coordinator, is going to be very much in demand with basically every team that has a job opening. And if the Jaguar job comes open with Trevor Lawrence, with Brian Thomas Jr., Tank Bigsby, Trayvon Walker, Hines Allen, the guys that are here, how appealing do you think this situation would be for a guy like Ben Johnson?
I think it absolutely is appealing. 100%. I mean, I feel like I've said it 5 times already, but the talent is there. It's just getting this team to buy in and do what you want to do on either side of the ball, being able to adjust to the skill sets that you have, and specifically on offense when everybody's healthy. And I know the injury bug's bitten them a little bit on offense here, really in the last few weeks since week 8 ended. But this should be an attractive job. And it may not just be Ben Johnson. Maybe he wants to live in that coordinator type of role, similar to what we've seen the success that Cliff Kingsbury has had in Washington. Just stay in that coordinator role. But anybody that wants to come into Jacksonville right now, there are pieces 100% away from the Thomases and the Lawrences and the Bigsbys of the world that you just mentioned. And if they do continue to lose games and you potentially have a top 5 pick, are you in a position to potentially add a tackle like Kelvin Banks or a Will Campbell, or even a Travis Hunter, potentially give you another piece on either side of the ball at corner and receiver? Obviously, he's not going to have the same snap count at the NFL level, but those types of players. So if I'm a coach, whether they want to go to the college, the NFL route, or an NFL recycled name there, we've already heard some of the stuff. I don't want to break anything here, but some of the Bill Belichick stuff as far as coming back into the league, I don't expect that at all. Not trying to break anything there, but those types of names flying around for this type of roster in this division, where the Titans, they have a lot of questions. Obviously, they look abysmal, worse than the Jaguars, laughingly enough. Then you look at the Colts and Anthony Richardson. What's their future there? It's really Houston and Jacksonville with the rosters right now to compete. So we'll see what happens here these next 2 weeks. It's going to be a big test before they hit the bye week, and we'll see where really this Jacksonville franchise is going to go. But if I'm a coordinator, if I'm a head coach, this is an attractive spot for me 100%.
Ryan, as we wrap up, you do a terrific job covering the draft, so I'm curious. You mentioned Tennessee and Indy. Do they have a Will Levis problem in Nashville, and do they have an even bigger Anthony Richardson problem in Indianapolis?
I think Will Levis is definitely a problem. You didn't hire Brian Callahan for no reason. You didn't bring in receivers on the outside. I know they traded DeAndre Hopkins and all that, but there are pieces there. They look at offensive line. You got J.C. Latham. You had Peter Skoronski along the offensive line. You brought in Tony Pollard. You have Tajay Spears. But Will Levis was basically this year, looked in year 2 to be a guy, hey, I'm going to lift the offensive ceiling of the guys around me, and I'm going to take a step. And that step has not been taken. So you look at teams, that probably say 10 or 11 teams, Ryan, right now that need a quarterback, but Tennessee may be up top that list. And right now with Anthony Richardson, the biggest thing there is, of course, there's excitement about his skill set. There's excitement about him coming out of Florida. The fundamentals are not great. We knew that coming out. Shane Steichen, the success he had with Jalen Hurts in Philadelphia, that hasn't translated as of right now. Is the move to bench him right now? I don't know. But how long is the leash? Because they are 4-4. They are in a spot right now to compete. And that is going to be interesting when you talk to Chris Ballard and you talk to Jim Irsay, who obviously has his fingerprints all over that roster and decisions as far as what you're going to do if you had a potential chance to say, we need to go to Joe Flacco right now because he's the guy that gives us the best chance to win. But that throws into question because if you're going to do that, then you should have started Joe Flacco from week 1 and let Anthony Richardson learn behind a veteran that obviously has seen everything at the quarterback position. So there's a lot of questions around this division, Ryan, and it really brings me back to Jacksonville as far as just really how disappointing 2024 has been considering the talent they have on both sides of the ball.
Ryan, tell the good folks here in Jacksonville about Bleacher Report, what you have coming up coverage-wise heading into week 9 of the NFL season.
Yeah, lots of stuff coming up. We got NFL Draft Stock Watch coming out tomorrow, looking at guys across college football, names to know, pro comparisons to get familiar with across the college landscape. Draft Network stuff coming out every single day over there. I'm on X, as Ryan mentioned, _ Ryan Fowler. And then every Monday night heading up to the Senior Bowl, come the turn of the new year, I will be chatting with the director of everything Reese's Senior Bowl with Jim Nagy, talking 2025 NFL Draft and everything Senior Bowl leading up to April of next year.
He's one of our guys here on 1010XL, my buddy Ryan Fowler. Ryan, I know you're busy. Thank you for the time, pal. We'll talk again soon.
Absolutely. Thanks as always, Ryan.
Who brought the house to their feet? Listen to this place. Universal Roofing Contracting presents the Offensive Player of the Game.
Wide open and just what they needed.
Experience the universal difference on 1010XL.
Ballou here for the Blue Crab House, located right off of San Jose. It's on Jewington Creek Road. They've been around since 1996. Indoor-outdoor dining. Also, takeout is available at the Blue Crab House. Open 4:30 to 9, Tuesday through Saturday. Sunday, noon until 9. Remember, Tuesday, $2 margaritas. Wednesday, $1 oyster night. How about the blue crabs? How about my personal favorite, the Canadian snow crabs? Whatever it is that you fancy, you get it right there. The Blue Crab House.
Hi, I'm Mac with Baker Glass. Are you tired of wrestling with your old shower curtain? Then say goodbye to the curtain chaos and hello to a new frameless shower enclosure. Wago Glass is clear, classy, and won't stick to you like a toddler at bedtime. Plus, it makes your bathroom look bigger and brighter. Upgrade your shower experience and step into style. Call me at Baker Glass and get ready to love your new glass shower enclosure. Baker Glass, no one treats you better.
Ballou here for Smoonez Vision. Why Smoonez Vision? Well, I've been with Dr. Neil Smoonez now since I got back to Jacksonville in 2006. 37 years of experience he has. Smoonez Vision is a family organization that focuses on personal high-quality medical and surgical eye care. Dr. Catherine Smoonez is fellowship-trained in cornea and cataract surgery and all refractive surgery. Combined, that's 30 years plus in laser eye surgery. Visit SmoonezVision.com today. Care you can see.
This election, if you want someone who will take care of the messes, someone who isn't afraid to get dirty and work in the trenches, someone who will pump out the problems and prevent future ones, vote for the Duck.
Need your septic tank serviced? Call Duck Rooter, your 5-star Google-rated septic company. Visit duckduckrooter.com.
I approve this message.
When you're stuck, call the Duck. DuckDuckRooter.com.
Every weekend is a Stone Cold Sports Weekend. Hey, Dan Hicken here. Watch for the Weekend with Dan on YouTube and Facebook, and I'll help you put together your sports weekend. Weekend with Dan brought to you by Stone Core. We do the outdoors better.
Hello there. Brendan from Play It Again Sports here to congratulate all the parents for surviving another summer. The kiddos are back to school, and you know what that means? Sports are back. But don't fret. Play It Again Sports has the gear you need at prices worthy of excessive celebration. From sluggers and shooters to clappers and benders, Play It Again Sports can turn your kids into goats. Stop in today on Merrill Road near 295 or online at playitagainjacks.com.
Former Jaguars corner and first-year head football coach at Duval Charter School at Bay Meadows, K-12, Aaron Beasley here. Are you looking for an A-rated K-12 school prioritizing academics, arts, and athletics? Duval Charter School at Bay Meadows offers a rigorous curriculum to develop strong minds with an additional focus on growing good hearts. DCSB has been an A school for 8 years, and our tuition is free. Now enrolling. Apply at baymeadowscharter.org.
Does the building you go to work in every day need a little love and attention? Jason Parker here with Performance Painting. Great companies take great care of the buildings their staff and customers walk into every day. If the building you're in doesn't match the vision you have for your company, we can help. Go to performance-painting.com. Our highly trained team makes the difference. Quality coatings applied with pride.
Performance Painting.
Hey, Hicken here with a message from Zero Res. Can you believe they've been cleaning carpets in Jacksonville now for 20 years? Dave Benyon, his family, and staff are so grateful of things and appreciate you, their great customers. In fact, October's birthday month for Zero Res. So what are we doing for customers? Just say happy birthday, Zero Res, and we'll give you $50 off. That's $50 off carpet, tile, and grout, upholstery, or area rugs. Zero Res, man. Spell it forwards or backwards. Zero Res. It's the right way to clean.
Zero Res.
Frank Frangie here for Stanley Pools. You know, pool design has come a long way, and if your pool is outdated, Stanley Pools specializes in bringing older pools up to date for the whole family to enjoy. That's why I did it a few years ago, and man, I love the way my pool looks now after we added travertine pavers and so much else. Stanley Pools has been serving our community since 1988, so call them today at 269-7277 or find them online at stanleypoolsfl.com. That's Stanley Pools, a family tradition of fine swimming pools.
I'm with Greg from Cycles of Jacksonville, and it is hot out there. You know that, Greg. But Honda has a plan for you on or off the road.
They do. There are a ton of Honda scooters, Honda mini motos, great for the beach. Also get you out in the woods with a Honda side-by-side. Plenty to do and stay cool.
Yeah, four-wheelers, and you can trick them out.
We can. From stereo systems to big builds, we do it all.
Everything's there for you to see. CyclesOfJacksonville.com online or on Atlantic near Regency. Check out Cycles of Jacksonville.
Hello, First Coast. I'm sure by now you have seen our bright green GFL trucks and containers throughout the greater Jacksonville area. We're an industry leader in solid waste and would love the opportunity to earn your business. We're committed to customer service, reliability, and have an unwavering focus on safety. Whether commercial or construction, let us haul your waste away. Call 904-760-5880 to get a quote today. From GFL, Green for Life.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Now, another great guest on the Garber Auto Mall phone line.
Hello.
We can wiggle it.
Back here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville, we are glad you are with us. Florida, Georgia, the world's largest outdoor cocktail party, Saturday at 3:30. Of course, you'll hear the game right here on 1010XL Radio. Georgia coming in, one of the top 5 teams in the country. Florida coming in at 4-3, but that's a lot better than most people envisioned after that awful 1-2 start. Let's talk about Florida, Georgia. Let's also spend a little time on the disaster that has been the Jaguar 2024 season. Let's do that with Ryan Roberts, A2ZSports.com. Ryan does a terrific job covering the world of college football and has been covering the NFL draft with us for years. Ryan, how are you, my friend?
Brother, it sounds like I'm doing a little bit better than you guys down there right now, but I appreciate you.
Yeah, it's bad here in Northeast Florida. There's no doubt about that. I want to spend a majority of the time on Florida, Georgia, but first and foremost, the Jaguars. You and I talk draft all the time. You and I talk about the young guys on this Jaguar team. And, Ryan, it's a disaster, man. I mean, they're 2-6. They've lost 4 games literally in the final 30 seconds. They got injury problems now. Trevor hasn't played great. The free agents they've brought in have been bad. I mean, just your thoughts on what has been an awful start to the year here in Jacksonville.
Yeah, I was pretty optimistic about the team going into the season, man. I remember talking in the preseason, I'm like, I thought that Trevor Lawrence was going to have his ascending year after getting the contract and playing through injuries, obviously, this past year, which obviously you know very well about. So I thought that he was going to take a huge step forward. I thought this offense, obviously, with bringing Brian Thomas Jr., who has been a very good asset to the team so far. And, Trevor Etienne, who I know has been a little bit banged up now, and kind of Hank Bigsby had a nice game pretty recently. But I thought the offense would be a whole lot better than they are, man, because I was looking this morning. I think they're like 21st in the NFL in points per game right now. So, they're not playing overly well. The defense has been even worse. They're averaging like 28 points per game. They light up. So I really liked a lot of the pieces foundation on this team. But for whatever reason, man, it hasn't clicked. It hasn't gelled. I obviously live right here in South Jersey, so I knew all about Doug Peterson, obviously, for what he did with the Philadelphia Eagles. And I thought that he was a better program builder than this, to be honest. It's just been very kind of lackadaisical. There's been a lot of blunders early in games. I feel like almost every game I watch, the Jaguars, even games that they end up winning, kind of fall behind early and kind of have to play from behind. So not really sure what the major issue is here because, again, I look at the roster and I'm like, Trevor Lawrence, I still like. I mean, yes, I agree that he hasn't been great this season, but he also hasn't been bad either. Like, he's had some good moments of stretches. You have a couple talented running backs. You have a couple talented offensive linemen. I think left tackle is obviously still a major issue, but you still have a couple talented wide receivers, and including Brian Thomas Jr., who is a very dynamic rookie receiver. And defensively, I still think that you have some pieces, but for whatever reason, it has not gelled. And I mean, you're in that danger area of like, you move on from Doug Peterson sometime soon. Like, what's the next step? What's the new regime? Like, long term, I think that this is a very interesting franchise and one that they need answers. And I'm not sure that they have answers in the building right now.
The one thing that we're counting on here over the last 9 games is the young guys, which is your expertise because you cover the draft and have covered the draft for years. You mentioned Tank Bigsby, Brian Thomas Jr., Ventrell Miller, Jarian Jones. There's no question that some young guys have really emerged on this team, which, again, if they were to move on from Doug Peterson, when you obviously combine Trevor Lawrence with that and the salary cap room they're going to have, and they have 10 draft picks already in the 2025 draft, would probably make this job, Ryan, pretty appealing.
I would think so. I mean, because, again, you have still a very young quarterback, and although Trevor Lawrence hasn't quite lived up to that billing yet, he has shown flashes of great stuff. And I think the main priority here is the next hire, if they do move on from Coach Peterson at some point, they really need to nail down the next hire, man. I think and I still would like an offensive kind of approach to this team. I know some people probably, usually people like to do the opposite when they change head coaches, right? So like an offensive-minded heavy head coach, usually you'll swing to the defensive side and vice versa. I think either way, though, I would still like an offensive-oriented head coach. I just think that a mindset of toughness and physicality needs to kind of come into play here a little bit. Like the offensive line, we've talked about it for years. I don't think that they have been as forthcoming with the holes that they have in trying to fill that hole accordingly. But I do think that this is a roster, especially in the modern age of the NFL, that it could get turned over pretty quickly. And when I say turnover, I'm not talking about like everyone, like max exodus. I'm just talking about find a left tackle, find a couple pieces up front. Defensively, find another corner, find a couple foundational pieces on the interior defensive line. Like, there is still a really nice mix of talented young players who I think can be a part of the long-term future. I just think that there might be a changing of philosophy or a changing of culture that needs to happen here because it is going to be an appealing job. I think there's going to be a lot of offense. Maybe it's a Ben Johnson from Detroit. Like, I don't know who the next name would be if they did move on from Coach Peterson, but it has to be someone that can get the best out of Trevor Lawrence, because if they were able to untap that potential that is still there, again, he hasn't been bad by any stretch, but there is still untapped potential there. I do think it's a very desirable job. It's just about the next voice in the room. I think this needs to be one that's a very offensive-minded head coach, but also physically oriented. Like, let's fix this offensive line. let's win in the trenches a little bit more. Let's have a more consistent running game because obviously there's a very talented couple running backs in the backfield as well.
Ryan Roberts, A2ZSports.com. Ryan, along with covering the NFL draft, you're the main college football guy there at A2ZSports.com, and we got a big one here in Jacksonville on Saturday with the cocktail party. Georgia, a big favorite, and we'll get to them in a moment. But to Florida really quick, you and I spoke about a month ago, and at that time, Billy Napier was a dead man walking. I love the analogy somebody told me last week, going back to the movie The Princess Bride. You can be all dead or mostly dead. And when you're all dead, that's what Billy Napier seemed like he was after A&M. Now he's only mostly dead, which means slightly alive, again, in the words of The Princess Bride, because you beat Mississippi State, you beat UCF, you beat Kentucky, you have a great showing against Tennessee, you ultimately lose a nail-biter in overtime. If he can pick off a Georgia, a Texas, an LSU, and Ole Miss, and combine that with a victory over Florida State, get to a bowl game, maybe all is not lost for Billy in Gainesville. What's your thought there?
My perspective on Billy has actually changed a little bit. I'm still not sold on him being the long-term fix in Gainesville. Like, I still don't think he's the guy that's going to, take him over the hump necessarily. But as far as job security, I mean, I was one of those guys, Ryan, to be very honest. Like, we talked about it. Like, before the season, I was out on Billy. When we talked about early in the season, I was also out on Billy because after the early season struggles, I honestly thought, and this is a little bit of projection, I thought the team was going to quit on him, to be honest. Like, because players hear things, right? Like, they know that Coach Napier's name has been associated with the early axes in the season, right? The guys that could get let go. They know that the future is a little bit in question. So it's very easy for 18 to 23-year-olds to quit on someone that they don't believe in. Like, it's very, very easy. So I thought he was a dead man walking 100%. I really thought that it was just a matter of time. I think, and this is going to sound a little bit weird to say, I think the fact that they are just now fully DJ Lagway at quarterback, I think that could save his job here. And partly to what you said, right, as far as if you get one of those upsets and you end off on a strong note, you probably save your job. But also, if we're talking about like the long-term future, I think that you can convince yourself on the Florida side that, hey, freshman quarterback, you got him for another 2 years, barring some unforeseen circumstances. You could build from here. You ultimately can. So I think that there is a saving grace this season potentially if DJ Lagway is able to have like a couple really nice performances down the stretch and you can kind of sell yourself. I think the worst case scenario, and this is all due respect to Graham Mertz because I never want anyone to get hurt, but if you were just kind of settling with what you were doing and Graham Mertz is the guy and then DJ Lagway is a occasional change of pace type of guy, I think that really, one, kind of alienates the players because ultimately, what's the next step? You didn't get your quarterback of the future enough reps and you weren't able to have some Superman moments. But I think the fact that he's playing so much now, I think that you can sell, hey guys, we played tough in several of these games. We still got to bowl eligibility. And we have that Superman potentially at quarterback for 2 more years. Number 2 looks like a future NFL kid and a very high draft pick. We can salvage this and we can move forward. And I think that a lot of people would have taken that and kind of run with that. And I think that that possibility is still on the table. Like, LSU is a very beatable team of the teams that you mentioned, like obviously beating a couple of those other teams, like it's going to be harder, like to beat Georgia. Like, it's probably not going to likely happen. But if you have a tough matchup and you are just within a touchdown or 10 points of Georgia and you're like, okay, there's progress here, and then you're able to beat LSU and you're able to win on a good note down the stretch, I think that you could salvage this ultimately. So I thought he was a dead man walking, but I do think there was a reality where Billy Napier could sell the future is still bright in Gainesville.
Final moments, Ryan Roberts, A2ZSports.com. And you're exactly right. I mean, obviously there are different types of losses. I don't think anybody listening to us right now, Ryan, is really picking Florida to win unless you're just a diehard orange and blue blinders type of person. Having said that, there's a big difference between a 48-10 game on Saturday and a 37-24 game on Saturday. It needs to be the latter, right? I mean, if Florida is in the game late third quarter, maybe fourth quarter, I think that's all Florida fans can realistically ask for, because a month ago, people thought Georgia was going to win this game by 50. And now if you tell a Florida fan that you're within 10 to 14 points in the fourth quarter, I don't know how you could be upset with that.
No, I don't think so. And I think that the one thing that parlays to the opportunity for that to happen, again, obviously I'm not picking Florida to upset or win the football game, but ultimately I wouldn't be shocked if it's a closer game in the second half just because Georgia's been liable for some of these games, man. It feels like outside of obviously the Alabama game this year, but like over the last couple years outside of Alabama, for the most part, Georgia has gotten up for all the big games. I mean, that's why they've won 2 national championships 2 out of the last 3 years, not including last year, obviously. But it's why they have been a national championship level program because they rise to the occasion. But they have been a victim of the sleepy weekends, right? And we're talking about Missouri. We're talking about Kentucky early this year. There's been games over the last couple of years where you're just like, that Georgia team just did not look mentally excited to be there. And obviously when we're talking about Georgia, Florida, like that's a rivalry. So I would be a little bit surprised if they were just completely sleepy, but they're going to look at the record. I mean, they do. Kids can say that they don't all they want, but they're going to look at Florida's record. They're going to see 4-3. They're going to see what Miami did to them. They're going to see a couple of the other losses, and they are going to write this team off. Some of them are. Now, Kirby Smart might be able to get the best out of them, and they don't take them for granted, but like ultimately, Georgia has been character to some of those letdowns, at least those close wins that maybe you just mentally weren't there for. So if Florida has one of those this weekend where you just kind of have that saving grace of like, hey, they took us for granted, but then we also took it, right? Like we took that momentum and we're able to keep this a close game. I do think that there is some positivity obviously that can come out of that game, obviously in a rivalry game against a team that has been running college football basically for the past 3-4 years.
Ryan, while we have you here, Florida State, from a college football perspective, it's been an absolute disaster, right? I mean, I can't ever remember. I'm 40 years old. I can't ever remember a Florida State offense that's been this bad. And the fact that Saturday night I had Florida State buddies of mine, Florida State alums, that were happy that it was only a 22-point loss to Miami. This was a team that was 13-0 11 months ago, and now they're happy they only lost by 22. I think speaks volumes as to how bad this season has been.
Well, I was talking to my wife about that last night, and I didn't even know I was going to be on here with you, but I was just like, a team that literally just went 13-0, won the ACC championship game, even with their quarterback out the last couple games of the season last year, even without that, they go 13-0, obviously lose the game against Georgia. We know, obviously, the bowl game or whatever. But the fact that you go 13-0 in your ACC championship and then you go 1-7 to start the year next year, I've never seen anything like it, man. Never seen anything like it. This team seems to have quit a little bit. Like, even in that rivalry game, because you're right, Florida State actually played okay against Miami in a vacuum, which is really ugly to say in that loss. And I think Miami didn't play their best game at all. So it's been a really unsettling season because I remember talking about this and I was like, I think Florida State is going to be a team that's going to regress a little bit. But like regressing again was like 9-3. You know what I mean? Like maybe 8-4 for if like some tragic stuff happens. Nobody in their right mind thought that they would be 1-7 through their first 8 games in 2024. Nobody thought that. So I don't know what the next step is with this program. It's a very ugly situation because obviously you have Coach Norvell locked up for a while here. I mean, he just signed a new contract pretty recently, and he's had a lot of success over the last few years at Florida State. So I think there needs to be an attention to detail with this program. We've talked about it. They've obviously killed it in the portal for the most part the last 3 to 4 years, had some big acquisitions, but they didn't have a good portal hold this offseason. But more than anything, my attention is for Coach Norvell for the short term and the long term, you need to recruit high school better. And they just lost the commitment from C.J. Wiley, who's a really talented wide receiver in the 2025 class. Like, you need to recruit better on the high school level. Transfer portal is great, but I've said multiple times over the last 2 years since transfer portal was really kicked up, you want to go to the transfer portal because you want to, not because you have to. And we're getting to that point where Florida State might have to go to the portal because they haven't recruited well enough on the high school level. And that is just not a formula for sustainability long term. So high school recruiting needs to get better, or else we're going to see a little bit of this topsy-turvy world. I think that this is a modern college football where you could flip this roster over in an offseason with a great transfer portal hole, and it will be better for a year, but it won't be sustainable from a year-to-year perspective. So high school recruiting under Coach Norvell has to get a lot better down there with Florida State.
I agree. You live by the portal, you die by the portal, and this year Florida State has certainly died by the transfer portal. Ryan Roberts, A to Z Sports.com. Ryan, tell the good folks here in Jacksonville about A to Z Sports and what they can expect when they head on over to the website.
Yeah, I mean, obviously college football talk, a lot of Notre Dame-centric stuff, obviously with my background, but I've been covering college football on a national level at A-to-Z Sports, and I have a mock draft out today because NFL draft content is starting to pick up now that we're getting into November, and people have kind of, unfortunately, like some teams like the Jacksonville Jaguars, for instance, their fans are starting to look forward to the draft a little bit, so we're starting to capitalize with their eyes, just kind of get into the NFL draft space. So mock draft over there, NFL draft content, college football content, NFL content, anything you need at A-to-Z Sports, you can find it.
I cannot believe I'm going to ask you this as we say goodbye, because you and I don't ever do this until about January, but here we are at 2-6. Out of curiosity, who did you have the Jaguars taking? I believe they would pick number 5 right now if the draft were held today.
Yep, I actually I had them taking Will Johnson, the cornerback from Michigan. I wanted to go offensive tackle, but there's just not an offensive tackle I liked in the 5th spot. So obviously projecting out without knowing what free agency moves and all that type of stuff, I would have loved to have said like a Will Campbell is good enough from LSU to be the 5th overall selection, but I just don't think he necessarily is. Like a quick tidbit, I think Jacksonville, just based upon where they are and their offensive line heavy needs, I wasn't surprised that they're a trade back candidate. I know we'll talk about that a lot during draft season, but I did give a Will Johnson, the quarterback from Michigan, to kind of get a bookend outside, hopefully.
Mark the time. It's late October. We haven't even reached November 1st yet, and Ryan Roberts and I are talking about Jaguar draft. That is what happens when you start 2-6 on the season. Ryan, always appreciate the time, man. We'll do it again soon.
Absolutely, brother. Thank you as always.
Now, the cool down with Donovan Air Electric and Plumbing, keeping Jack's cool since 1987.
And thank you to Ryan Roberts, A-to-Z-Sports.com, for joining us tonight here on Hacker After Dark, talking a little college football, a little Jaguars as well. Always appreciate Ryan's time with us here on 1010XL. We spent some time on the Florida-Georgia game tonight. Certainly the cocktail party now just, 4 days away. Saturday, 3:30. You'll hear the game right here on 1010XL. We also spent some time on Florida State, 1-7. Worst Florida State team of my lifetime that I can remember. I was born in 1983. Can probably remember 1990 was probably the first college football season I really remember. I've never seen a Florida State team worse than this that I've been alive. Just awful at 1-7. North Carolina, Notre Dame, Charleston Southern, and Florida are the last 4 games. We'll see what happens if they can get to 2, 3, or even 4 wins at this point. And then we spent a lot of time on the Jaguars, certainly. Matt Verderame of SI joined me. Always enjoy the conversation with Matt. Also Ryan Fowler of Bleacher Report, as we did a deep dive into the Jaguars, kind of where they are. And, boy, what a changing of the landscape in the AFC South, man. Stephon Diggs out for the year, torn ACL in Houston. Indianapolis benches Anthony Richardson, and both the Titans and the Jaguars are terrible. So the AFC South was thought to be the worst division in football last year. That wasn't the case. Now you fast forward to where we are now, coming in with a lot of high expectations, and the division is back to being awful again. Just goes to show you never really know what's going to transpire in the National Football League. Well, that will just about do it. We got a ton of people to thank for a Tuesday night edition here of Hacker After Dark on 1010XL and on 92.5 FM. Again, thank you to Ryan Roberts, A-to-Z-Sports.com. Thank you to Ryan Fowler of Bleacher Report and the Draft Network. We also had the truth teller, Rick Ballou, join us tonight to talk a little Florida State. And back in hour number 1, Matt Verderame of SI, talking Jaguars and NFL. We'll be back tomorrow night on a Wednesday, and we will do it all over again beginning at 8 o'clock. Dylan Denmark was your producer tonight. Dylan, great job as always. I'm the hacker, Ryan Green. And again, Jacksonville, thank you for spending part of your Tuesday evening with us right here on Hacker After Dark on 1010XL and on 92.5 FM. So for all of us here on HAD, have an absolutely terrific remainder of your Tuesday evening, and we will talk to you again tomorrow night on a Wednesday beginning at 8 o'clock. Until then, good night, Jacksonville.